Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing my VCT Pacific power rankings and predictions heading into week 5. I mean, this past week in Pacific was one of the more unexpected weeks in terms of some of the upsets and how certain games went. So it should be very interesting to see how some of these teams are moving up and down in these power rankings specifically, and if that'll affect some of my Pickems heading into this last week of the season. I don't exactly remember what like actual playoff scenarios are at hand with these last games, so I'll probably look that up before I get into the Pickems, and I'll talk about that then. But overall, if you guys enjoy, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Really helps me out. I just realized that I hadn't posted my player rankings for Pacific yet, so those will be up by the time that this video is up. I'm recording this at like 3 a.m. Uh, on of the 18th, I guess. I don't know why it needs the date because it is still the 18th when I'm uploading this. But regardless, those Pacific player rankings will be out on my Twitter. If you guys are interested in that kind of stuff, I'll be just ranking every player in Pacific within their role and kind of just discussing with you guys on Twitter if you care to respond to it. So links to that is in the description. You can go check that out. Also, if you guys enjoy, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It very, very much helps me out. Kind of getting there on 1,400 subscribers. We're at 1,319 right now. So getting decently close to 1.5K at this point. So would really like to hit that before the off season at least. So please hit that if you do enjoy this video. And yeah, let's get right into it. So we'll start with these two bottom teams. I think pretty much everyone agrees that these are the two bottom teams in the Pacific. I think it's pretty clear the order, but also they're close in terms of how good they are. So that's why they are in the same tier. We'll start with Secret. I mean, they have not been good the whole season. They don't have enough firepower to contend. The calling isn't good anymore. They're not really adapting to new roles in the meta. Envy's having to play roles that he's just straight up not very good at. And they're getting destroyed by Nongshim, who, while they're good, are not a great team. And yeah, they really haven't come close to beating anyone. Like, they took Icebox off T1, who was just terrible at that map. They need to start banning that against everybody. And that's not really much of a feat. And then they beat Talon in their first map that they played, when that team is the definition of inconsistency. So this team needs to make roster changes, and I think fairly significant ones. I think I would at least cut 3 of the players here. I don't want to get into any specifics in case they don't do this, and I'm going to save that for my rebuild series at the end of the year, where I go through and make every move that I would make for every VCT team. So if you're interested in that, subscribe, stay tuned for that. That'll be coming after Champs, maybe some videos before Champs as well, because I did that a little bit as well. So stay tuned for that if you're interested. The other team that is in this tier is obviously DFM, moving down 1 spot. They were in this tier last week, and I think they were passed up by one other team that was in this tier and no longer is. There's really not much to say about DFM at this point. They did have a close game against Paper Rex, which seems to be the one team that they're able to contend with. Akame had an insane game. May had probably his worst game on DFM, I would say. Like, it's close. I don't remember any specific games last year. I'm sure there were ones that were kind of similar to this one, but I just feel like he's trying to do too much. But I do very much like the fact that this team isn't fully, like, a confidence in these players isn't fully gone. Like, some of them are still doing nice stuff, like specifically Akame. Jen had a decent game, not amazing by any means, but definitely okay. The others, not so much. I think May's kind of tapered off, trying to do too much, as I just said. Again, I've said it before, this team needs a new leadership structure in terms of art, and probably new coaches as well. So they got to get on that at some point. I would imagine it would be coming after the stage. I'm almost 100% sure they're eliminated from playoff contention at 0-4. And even if they're not, Boom is 4-0, and they play Boom this week, so they are going to lose that game. Spoiler alert for my predictions. Then we have this first crop of teams that I kind of named the Why Are You the Way That You Are, but this one is in a bad way. And that'll start with Global, who, I mean, they played against Genji this week, and I think they did show some nice rounds overall. I don't really have that much of an issue with how they played. It's just kind of the Darion coming in thing just doesn't really make sense to me. I guess if you're trying to like say, okay, Patrick wasn't playing well, which he wasn't, and maybe he's worried about like I saw Plat Chat discussing it. I think they actually put it a lot better than I'm even going to, or I'm going to be able to. Basically, they were talking about how like with players, maybe young players like Patrick, they're kind of worried about a lot of things, whether like being benched, being able to play well, blah 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 blah. And when you bench the player, they see, oh, it's not really that bad, and you put them back in and they play a lot better. Which, if you're, I mean, at this point, you could just tank for stage 2, and I'd be fine with that. If you want to put him back in against Paper X this week, by all means, I think that's a good idea. I don't really have much else to say about this team. Like, I think the individual form has fell off quite a decent bit. I think Crystal and Udo Tan still look good. I think Kelly S as an individual has looked good. The calling, not quite so much. And then Poppy, I think, has been the main guy that was disappointing for me. I guess, no, Patrick was disappointing at the beginning, but in terms of the players now, Poppy has been the most disappointing. I thought he was going to be pretty nice heading into the year, but has not been as of stage 1 so far. Kickoff last year, or not last year, kickoff for him was pretty good, but so far it hasn't been too great talking about stage 1. Then I have Paper X moving down 1 spot. Yeah, they beat DFM. I cannot give less of a shit. Obviously, DFM is my 11th ranked team. Jing played really well, and I think you started to see maybe him being able to be good on smokes. I think that was definitely a very good sign for this team. Their Lotus comp was interesting, putting Forsaken on a Omen that I don't know if he's ever played before. Nope, this was his first time playing Omen in a professional game. I mean, it gets him closer to playing every single agent, so I do like that. But that's about all I like about it. Devi's still not looking super great on the Sentinel role, specifically the Vise role, but he's been looking better. Something looking good. Like, there's a lot of good individual stuff about this team, but there's still the Paper X that we know and hate in terms of just making all the mistakes and everything, in terms of like losing clutch scenarios and just like the lack of mid rounding. Patman is kind of leaning into that now. He's kind of like last week, it felt that he was kind of a bit more reserved than the rest of the team, but now he's going for like crazy one-off plays a little bit more often. You do see some of the like util combo stuff as well from this team. That's kind of nice. Like, they do this thing in B main a lot on Ascent where they combo the KO flash with the fade dart every single time to try to like reveal the people in B main. Now that would have been good maybe a year ago when there was when you could actually wallbang the wall on Ascent, but it's still good to get info and everything. So they do still show some nice stuff, but overall it's not like incredible by any means. Then we have Zeta Division, who, this is going to be a positive conversation, but also like the chance of this team really doing anything in playoffs isn't really high. And the reason that they're in this tier in terms of its name is just because like Zeta, the org always seems to give us hope and then just completely ruin it. But 1010 coming in this week played amazing. He was like, his mechanics are unbelievable. Now the Lotus, the decision making wasn't super great, but I did very much enjoy seeing him play, especially on that Neon where he was really good. He like, it felt like this team was just playing with a lot more confidence than they had been. I mean, last week they kind of competed with RRQ. The week before they actually got their first win against Secret. And now they're beating an actually good team in Talon. And I believe should be in playoffs. As long as, I mean, if they win, they should be in playoffs. If they lose, I think they're still in playoffs. Unless Talon wins. Talon would have to lose to T1, which is most likely to happen. So if everything goes to plan, Zeta should be in playoffs. So they'll give us hope there and probably just not do much there. But it is kind of nice to see this team performing a lot better, even if one of my favorite players on the team, Depp, isn't really in the picture, which does kind of suck that he's injured. But I mean, 10-10 was kind of the boost of confidence that this team may have needed. Then the last team in here, the team that they beat, Talon. I'm not ready to move Talon under Secret, even though they played kind of poorly this week. Jip Boys was IGLing because Cruz was dealing with the death of his father. I really don't want to talk too much about this team. They didn't play well in this game. I would expect them to play better in future games, but also they are very inconsistent. And some of the, I mean, specifically THYY is not performing to the level that I maybe thought he would be heading into the year, even though he did have a decently nice week last week against Nongshim. I mean, actually, not even decently. He played really well in that game. I'm kind of underselling it, but yeah, I don't really want to talk much else about this team because I don't like it would just kind of be shitting on them for stuff that they really don't deserve to be shit on for. Then to the upper half of my power rankings where we have one team in the solid teams tier because I feel like everything else kind of fits into these other tiers. We have Nongshim. We're just solid. Like they're gonna have some. I literally just looked up Nongshim on VLR to try to pull up their VLR page to get the VLR page of the game, and I just searched solid. So if you needed more proof that it's 3 a.m. for me, then there's that. But Francis played really well in this game. They beat Team Secret. Like, I don't really have much to say about them in this game, I'm not going to lie, because it's Team Secret and they suck. But I think the individuals on this team look nice. Dombey is kind of eh, and so is Margaret. But Persia, Francis, Ivy have all been very, very good for this team all year and should give them kind of a decent building block every game. Now, the reason that they're in solid team, a tier of solid teams, is just because I don't really think they're going to punch up and beat like the best teams in Pacific ever. They're probably not even going to beat some of these middle table teams. Like they'd probably go 50-50 against a lot of the mid table teams, as they did against, I mean, at the time, RRQ, and lost to Talon after that. Like they'll be fairly consistent in terms of like what level you get from them every game, but it'll sometimes be inconsistent map to map, and that's not ideal, but they'll still make playoffs. They'll probably they might win a game against like one of the lower tier teams, but overall I don't think they'll do very much. Like they're not going to punch up in my opinion, but they could punch down a little bit sometimes. Then onto the why are you the way that you are good tier. I mean, is it really good for DRX? I don't exactly know what's going on with Flashback, but this is the second time in 2 years that he's taken a like personal leave of absence. I don't know what to do with this team. They're still trying to play the double duelist comp, even though they don't have 2 duelist players on their team. They're making Freeing play Yoru, which he is terrible at. Like, this is the worst game Freeing's played all year. Mako didn't play a great game, probably having to IGL under a different stress. Estrella playing more Sentinel in this game, Bane playing Teo. It just didn't look like anybody other than Hyunmin was very comfortable in this game. The reason I'm not going to tank this team too hard, I'm just dropping them out of this top tier pretty much, is just because, like, would you really expect them to do much in playoffs with a sub pretty much? I mean, honestly, I think this team could actually go pretty far if you just put Estrella on Sentinel, Bane on Flash Initiator, Freeing on Teo, and Hyunmin on full-time Duelist. Like, not just Jet, every Duelist. I genuinely think this team would probably be good and most likely make Toronto because that's just how DRX works. But at the same time, I don't fully trust them to make that change, so I'm going to keep them in this tier below as of right now. Maybe if they make some rule changes, maybe make some comp changes heading into next week, I'll move them back up into that like top 3, but that is very contingent on them doing that, which I don't believe that they will as of right now. All right, and now on to our top 4 teams in Pacific, which I think, if you don't agree that these are the top 4 teams, I would be very, very surprised. And it'll start with Gen G, who, let me search up their VLR page. There we go. They played Global this week. They beat them pretty handily. I mean, Ash is continuing to look a lot better. Foxy9 still looks pretty solid. I would like to see how these guys play against maybe some of your top tier teams because like they're getting more experience and playing well, but they're playing against like PaperX, DFM, Global. Now they'll play against DRX this week, which is the full like real test for this team and why I don't have them in the top 3 right now. But I mean, they still have that core of Texture Munch and Charon still playing well. As long as Ash and Foxy9 can punch up a little bit, I think this team does have a really nice shot of making it to Toronto. But I'm just not exactly sure if they can because I think these 3 teams ahead of them are incredible. And that will start with RRQ. I would assume most people think this team should be higher than I have them here. I will say, though, T1 hasn't been playing their greatest Valorant through stage 1, and I'll talk about it later. I do think there's a reason for that, but it still is a little bit less impressive than beating the reigning world champions than maybe most times it would be. Now, it's still a very impressive win. They still played very, very well. I don't really have too many negatives to say on this team. Honestly, like they just played well. They did exploit T1's icebox, which I said earlier about Secret wasn't really too much of a what's it called? An achievement. Now, if they had played Ascent instead, which was what T1 ended up banning, I think they still would have won that map anyway. And then Lotus, I think they did a really, really good job calling on that map. Specifically, Crazy Guy was insane. Or, I mean, obviously, he's the IGL. Of course, it's going to be him with the calling. And then Jemkin's individual form was amazing in this game. So, honestly, I just there's not much to say about this team. If you watch them, they're a good team. They play very, very good Valorant, and it does seem that this team is finally being able to close out some of these close games. And I would hope this will continue into playoffs. But there's still a little bit of me that's not fully trusting this team. If they go out and beat Secret this week, that won't change anything, though. So you're gonna have to prove it in playoffs, RRQ. But they should have the 1 seed out of this group as long as they're able to beat Team Secret, which shouldn't be very difficult. And if they get that 1 seed, I would very, very much favor them to go to Toronto. Then I have Boom at number 2. I mean, just same, like, I don't even know, like, good fundamental Valorant that they've been playing all stage. Berserks is insane. NC Slasher's insane. DOS9's insane. Famous is insane. And Shiro is very, very good. He had some insane moments, specifically on Haven, to get them through. Now, to make that game close. Now, that game shouldn't have been close. They should have won that game. Because as far as I know, they were not playing this Haven comp before. When they played against Global, they played a Neon Breach Sova comp, like your default normal Haven comp, and won and played really well. And then they changed up their roles, put DOS9 on ISO, which he was very clearly not comfortable on, and just was not as confident. And they kind of got picked apart. Now, also, it put NC Slasher on a role that I don't think he's quite as good at with the Omen, but he still, I mean, he still had the highest VLR rating in that game for whatever stock you put into that, or in that, on the team in that game. Obviously, Hyunmin had a higher rating, but he still played really well, I think, even outside of the rating. I was going to say he top fragged, and then I actually read the number and the ACS. Oh, wait, no, he did. He did have the highest ACS. No, he didn't. I can't do math because it is, again, 3 a.m. But yeah, I mean, he was really good in the series. Like, this team still has a lot of very good individuals. And out of the teams not named T1, they are like, I think this team should be a lock for Toronto, as they already do have the 1 seed, I believe, as far as I know. Wait, group stage? Yeah, okay. It does say that they're locked in to the 1 seed out of the alpha group. I believe it's, yeah, the alpha group. So I would definitely think that this team should be making it to Toronto. If they don't, it would be a major, major upset in playoffs and probably them choking a little bit, even though they've been in a lot of close games against some of the top teams and still performed really well. So I would expect them to make it. And then I also would expect T1 to make it, who I do still have at my number one spot, even though they lost to RRQ this week. They, I mean, they still played like T1 kind of, but I like turned down a little bit, specifically on Lotus. I really don't think they played well in that game. Meteor was just not able to find value on his ISO. And maybe this team can be hot and cold sometimes, but honestly, I really don't care. Like, they're gonna come into playoffs, probably play some new comps, play better Valorant overall. Maybe I should move them down because they haven't shown it this stage, but also they showed it at Bangkok and at kickoff. So, I mean, more so at Bangkok, not really at kickoff as much. So, I'm going to keep them at number one for the foreseeable future, unless they lose in playoffs. Maybe they still don't look great in playoffs, and maybe they make it to Toronto. Maybe then I will move some of these other teams above them in that Toronto power ranking. But we'll just have to wait and see for that and head on to my predictions now. All right, now onto my pick'ems. We'll start with last week where I just got the two like big upset games wrong in T1 over DRX, or not over DRX, over RRQ, and then Talon losing to Zeta, which I think most people would have predicted Talon and T1 in those series. Now maybe some people would have predicted DRX over Boom, and I still got that right, so I'm pretty happy with that. I am pleased with this week. I'm still towards the top in terms of Pacific pick'ems, so feel like I'm doing pretty well this stage. I mean, this is probably the best I've been doing in pick'ems like ever in any stage of any region. Actually, maybe America's is doing better right now, but that's a very easy region to predict. I think in Pacific it's a little bit more difficult than America's, so I am pretty proud of this. And honestly, this week seems pretty easy for me at least. Maybe some of these games are close on paper. Like I think one or two of these games I could get wrong, but I think overall I would pretty easily pick Paper X over Global, even though I do think they are similar caliber teams. I just think Paper X's firepower, confidence, and all that kind of stuff is going to rip Global to shreds. I just don't think it's a good matchup for a young team like Global. T1 beating Talon, I think that's pretty easy. I don't know if Talon's going to have fully fixed their stuff from last week. I don't even want to say fixed. Like, I think Talon's a worse team than T1. I'm going to pick T1 is kind of what I'm thinking here, really. Then Genji, I'm gonna beating DRX. DRX playing with their sub Bane still. I doubt that they're gonna have roles changed for this week, and honestly, even if they do, I don't think that they should show those comps in what they're playing. I think they should just kind of play what they played last week, lose this game to Genji, head into playoffs, maybe losing this game, but also kind of having all of their comps not shown. Then the game that I do think is very close, like I think the DRX Genji you could pick either way, Paper X Global you could pick either way, but I do feel pretty confident about the teams that I've picked. I am going to pick Zeta in this game over Nongshim, just because I think the firepower of Zeta could actually like reign supreme in this game. I like I don't know, man. It's really tough because like if Sugar Zero turns up like he did in that game, which he hasn't fully in some of the other games, they should be able to win. Clues has been a really good individual as of late these past like couple games. XDLL has been solid. I don't think he's been like unbelievable, but he's been pretty solid. 1010, I don't know if he's going to continue it into this game. Shota I think he's been pretty good all year. Like I don't really have too much of an issue with how Shota's played. So if the Zeta individuals show up like they did in this Talon game, they should be able to win this game. But it's really close, man. I'm not confident in this game either way, and I'm gonna pick the team that I think has a little bit more momentum at the moment. Then Boom over DFM, that's pretty easy, and RRQ over Secret, also very easy. So if you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Really helps me out. and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace. Finally, I can fucking go to bed. Holy shit.